Hello, this is going to be a reading on Lindsay and Patrick Clancy and the death of their children, the murder of their children. So we're going to do the Phantoid pack, but I have one card and a couple of stickers before then. So, envy. I'd like to know, what's this about? Who was envious? Who was envious? Where was the envy coming from? Skin condition. Okay, I'm only pausing because in the Phantoid pack, it seemed like somebody had a lot of different medical difficulties. Is the best way I can say that. So envious. Okay. Envy, somebody with a skin condition. Let's see if I can get one more. Could be as simple as eczema. Who was envious? Okay. Envy. Where does this fall in line in the Lindsay and Patrick Clancy case? Who was envious? Withdrawal. Quit, awakening, rejection. This can go a couple of different ways. Maybe him envious she was getting better, or her envious of what I think he was up to. Can you show me their relationship, actually? Tell me about their relationship. Lindsay and Patrick Clancy. Show me their relationship. Competition. I got that in the first reading. Ruthless, cutthroat, aggressive. Okay. So, envy. Most cultures have their traditions of the evil eye, a gaze motivated by envy, which poisons, curses, or brings misfortune, jealousy, which is above all a fear of losing a loved one to another, is often credited with some romantic appeal. The same cannot be said of envy. Envy is feared not only because it gives rise to a greedy desire to steal the admired object, but because it is destructive and, left to fester, it turns to hatred and maliciousness. But could there be something of value in the impulse to want what others have? Those who live on the Pacific atoll of the speak of song. The anger caused when someone fails to share properly and consider a perfectly reasonable response. Since the mid-1990s, neuroscientists have argued that our emotions underpin even our most rational ideas, helping us weigh up our choices. Sometimes the belief that others have it much better than we do is a mere trick of the light. But many have an awful lot less than they deserve. A twinge of envy might just be an emotional antenna alerting you to some disparity or inequality not too far away. Whether you decide to respond with destructive fury or something a little more creative is, of course, up to you. So, it would seem rational that the envy is coming from Lindsay to Patrick, but is it actually coming from Patrick to Lindsay? Let me get a few stickers. Tell me about the envy with Patrick and Lindsay Clancy, please. Tell me about the envy with Patrick and Lindsay Clancy, please. Okay, 3's good. Happy Mother's Day. Sunglasses. Gucci sunglasses, I believe. What's this? A forklift. Okay. Oh, it's coffee with 3 F's. And a note. Alright, I'm going to put that to the side. This is what came out for stickers. Feather, the evil eye, a period, butterfly, J Dilla, and a bagel. Politics. Now, in that last card, it's began with, most cultures have their traditions of the evil eye, a gaze motivated by envy. And there's the evil eye. I don't know how all these other things apply. I don't know where all this breakfast food is coming in. But those are the stickers. A bagel, a donut, the coffee, evil eye, butterfly transition, butterfly here, beauty, rebirth, transformation. Getting rid of one to begin another. Period. I see a lot of different things. Okay, let's go to Fantoid. She got the blue dog. They got the blue dog. So if you've been with me, you kind of know how I do this. I'm more pulling the cards than reading the cards, but sometimes I forget and I start reading. We'll see how it goes. Alright, the blue dog. There's the list. I have definitions for the ones I don't know or don't know how they're defining it. So, let's start October. So I went and looked. I got Lindsay's birthday, August. Patrick is in October. And the event happened in January. So let's see what October is about in regards to the Lindsay and Patrick Clancy case. What about October? I think I'm going to go here. What about October? The princess. What about the princess? October. What about October? The husband, the King of Pentacles. And what about the businessman, the husband, an earth sign, possibly. What about this? October. Maybe a decision was made in October. Strive for greatness and a message in a bottle. A ship in a bottle. Let me read the princess. Princess, to give. Some hard promises or conditions bind you, but you don't have to feel yourself cursed or unlucky, which is what this guy looks like in the card. Check your dreams and visions. What your ancestors did doesn't have to be the way you do them. Touch the power of your aspirations and feel the motivation to go on. The sentence is, I give myself unreservedly in the service of love. The emblem is a necklace. Strive for greatness. Did Lindsay find the necklace? October. Maybe something happened in October and it took to January. Okay. I'm going to keep going. October. Loss of one of the senses. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, or touch. What about loss of one of the senses? Loss of one of the senses. Lindsay and Patrick Clancy. Loss of domesticity. What about loss of one of the senses? Two of Cups. 10, 11, 2 twos. In accordance. Acting in accordance. Loss of one of the senses. What about this? One more. Loss of one of the senses, Patrick and Lindsay Clancy. I'll take it. So either taste, lips, not kissing. I don't get this. A kind of luggage tag with an angel. Wings. Surprise. With the planet Saturn? I think that's Saturn. So if you lose one, then another increases. All right, let's see. What about domesticity? Relates to loss of the one of the... I don't know. Domesticity as an act of concord. Now, 2 twos is acting in accord. Symbolizes the virtue of human domination by means of persuasion. Associated to the moon, the letter B and the number 2 represents nature's peace, equilibrium of elements, pastoral joy. As an element of prediction, it promises remorse, indecisions, perplexities, timidity, pastoral life, advantageous affairs, enterprises that bring struggles but with satisfactory outcomes. I don't know. I might want to go back over and check. Keep going. Okay, the next word is Weltschmerz. It's a German word. Speaks of a poetic term describing deep existential sadness about the state of the world. And they also refer to it as an ache in the soul. Tell me about Weltschmerz. when it comes to Patrick and Lindsay Clancy case. Tell me about Weltschmerz, the musician, inspiration and gratitude. Hearing? Can she hear? What's... The musician. Tell me about Weltschmerz. A dark-haired man, I think that's a page of swords, watching, watching or listening. Tell me about Weltschmerz. A deep sadness. Lindsay and Patrick Clancy. No effects. H.P. Lovecraft, Chithlu, and Nine of Swords in reverse. Page of Swords, Nine of Swords in reverse. Watching the decline of somebody's mental state. Nine of Swords in reverse. Moving on, don't give up, end of a crisis. Weltschmerz. The musician. The musician is the dawn that follows the night, the hopeful optimism after a period of struggle. After facing your problems, you're now in alignment with your true self, or will be soon, and it's time to appreciate yourself for the struggles that you've come through. Given your achievements, you're also in a unique position to provide inspiration to others who are still facing their own personal darkness. So sitting, waiting, watching somebody go through mental torture, moving on, giving up. It says don't give up. End of a crisis, or thinking something has ended, tricked into thinking something is okay or has ended. What's this? The best way to predict the future is to create it. Yeah. Okay, unnatural vice. They define that as sexual behaviors that deviate from what historical, religious, or natural law traditions defined as natural order. So somebody with kinky sexual proclivities is the best way I can say that. What about this is, what are we talking about here? Unnatural vice. What are we talking about? I'm going to go here. Okay, that just jumped out. Gravestone. So I got H.P. Lovecraft, Charles Dickens. Somebody's probably going to write a book about this. Family history, gravedigger, buried treasure, historic site, zombie, mourning, cremation, skeleton, sepulchre. Sorry, I can't say it today. Tragedy, catacomb, unsolved murder, funeral, memorial unknown. Is this necromancy? Unnatural vice. Who are they talking about? Unnatural vice. Wheel of Fortune. Let's see what you said. Wheel of Fortune here. Good luck, change, destiny, life cycles, and karma. Unnatural vice. Continuing a tradition. I'm not really sure how to. Let's see what this says. Unnatural vice. What is this about? Handsy. Grouping forward grabby. What about this? Unnatural Vice, Patrick and Lindsay Clancy. Books, knowledge, old habits, old lineage, old legacy. Laptop. Okay. Oh, hold on. Because the laptop came out in the first reading 3 years ago that I did for her. It was the Ace of Wands, I believe. She was something about drinking and maybe mixing medication, but found something. I think they butchered this. My belief is they butchered this. They should have went into this open to anything possibly happening. I know what it looked like, or I think I know what it looked like when they walked up, but they should have held out because maybe he was a suspect, or is a suspect, or is the actual one. But now you're going to go try to look at his computer or phones, and half of the information that you could have had is going to be gone. What was on this laptop? What's this laptop about? It's the second time getting a computer like this. What's this laptop about? Love, the Earth. Earth Mother. Earth Mother came out. Didn't it come out, I think, in her reading? If I'm not mistaken, I could be. 23, the Moon, Love. Somebody faking. Usually the moon's here. So love is in the air, feminine, inner voice, emotions, mystery, secret lovers. So we met somebody with the same kinks as him? I don't know. Unnatural vice. Alright, I'm going to leave that there. Tell me about diseases of the tongue. Now, if you, let's say we're messing with animals, I could imagine you have diseases in certain places. Not to say that. Wait a minute, I forgot. Well, we'll do diseases of the tongue first. Geographic tongue, oral thrush, black hairy tongue. So, either Patrick or Lindsay might have not a regular tongue. Okay, tell me about this. complacency. The root chakra. Complacency, crimson dreams. Life force energy must be taken seriously. Are you standing tall in your own dreams or trying to build on someone else's? Sadness and inability to disassociate from a lost dream can show up here. It is time to walk away from anything that does not deeply resonate with you. Release and be free. Complacency, I am feeling the loss of my dreams. So unfortunately, and not unfortunately, I don't think that he was truthful with her. I think he was just playing the role, but really wanted to be somewhere else. And maybe had he been truthful and helped her get the help she needed, I don't know. This isn't sitting well with me. Tell me about diseases of the tongue. At home, somebody in a home position diseases of the tongue. Tell me about diseases of the tongue. Patrick and Lindsay Clancy. Tom and Jerry and Banksy. I don't know exactly what that's trying to say. Disorders of the knee. Structural injuries, degenerative diseases, inflammatory that cause pain, swelling, and mobility issues. Disorders of the knee. What's this about? Disorders of the knee. Disorders of the knee. Progress. Progress means eliminating one thing and accepting another. I believe that man has a walking stick. Ace of Pentacles. Decaf almond latte. Friendly for those with lactose intolerance. And offer diseases. What is it? Disorders of the knee. Ace of Pentacles and offer. What is this about? Progress. Growth. Progress. The moon. Darling, light of my life. I believe this is from The Shining. I'm going to keep going before I say what I really feel. Disturbances. Disturbances is an interruption that breaks a calm, quiet, or normal state. Loud noise, public fights, or a worried state of mind. Tell me about what was the disturbance? The moth. Cycles, direction, compulsion, obsession. Tell me about the disturbance. what was the disturbance? Ace of Wands. Disturbance. So right before that was the Ace of Pentacles with disorders of the knee. Two aces is trickery. A sexual obsession or compulsion, which would bring us back to a natural vice. What is this about? What was the disturbance? Let me go a little deeper. What was the disturbance? Patrick and Lindsay Clancy. What was the disturbance? Greed. What was the disturbance? More Banksy art. Heart and a hummingbird. I don't think that's a name. Okay, it is so human to stay in unfruitful situations and uncongenial places out of fear, when in our heart we know change is needed. Am I reading about a disturbance? Not making a decision is a decision in itself, a decision to stay. If months, even years of your life are passing in futile complaint, then hummingbird, she weighs but 1/10 of an ounce, has come to set you a courageous example. Consider her wisdom and make it your own. Take courage and the world will reward you with bounty. I think she wanted to get out, but she could not get out herself. Okay. Next is miscarriage of a child. What is this about? Miscarriage of a child. Wants me to go here, I will. Miscarriage of a child. The holly in reverse, which would have been around Christmas time. 4 of Cups. Miscarriage of a child. Holly in reverse. Now, hold on. I was hoping this wasn't it, but I have to say this. Last time this Holly came out, was for a case that I did, or a reading I did on a case. So I did it, and I didn't understand why the guy was missing, and then I watched something, like I think they found him, or his remains, or something, 2 to 3 years later, but turns out what he was running from was he had been inappropriate with children. I'm getting a tinge of this here. Not even a tinge. There's something I'm seeing here that I can't put my finger on yet. I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything, but this is where the unnatural vice comes in. Was somebody possibly trying to make money off of this situation? Did somebody else put a period in the situation so it couldn't happen? I don't know. Something kooky is happening. Okay, the Holly in reverse, the truth. In your striving to be fair and honest, there may be times when you become blunt and tactless. Try to combine your desire to honor the truth with the need to consider the feelings of others, becoming more diplomatic in the process. And the Four of Cups, boredom, unappreciative, need to meditate. Miscarriage. What's this about? So money, again. $35,000? What does this guy do for work? I can't remember. Living for the hope of it all. This is my happy place, so what now? And the High Priestess in reverse. High Priestess in reverse. Hidden agendas, secrets, confusion, blocked intuition. Keep going. Another butterfly. An accident in a garage. Let's see, this should be interesting. An accident in a garage. What was the accident in the garage? What was the accident in the garage? Home. Okay, give me more. What was the accident in the garage? Let me do that, actually. What was the accident in the garage? What was the accident in the garage? Storm. Storm was a brewing. Arguments, fights. And how did that end? What happened with the accident in the garage? Unmask. If they were to unmask, what would they get? Family. Bond, home, background. Accident in the garage. What is this about? Page of Cups. Music. Another page. 2 pages is anxiety, worry, disquiet, actually, which means anxiety and worry. Page of Cups, Page of Swords, also could be the children. An accident in a garage. I don't even know how I'm looking at this. What is this? An accident in a garage. Attempted murder. I know this crow has already come out. He did. An accident in a garage. Attempted murder. The beer, the wheat, the family crest. Okay. Dementia. A decline in mental ability severe enough to interfere with daily life. What about dementia? Let's go here again. What about the dementia? Map. Lost. Dementia. Can't find one's way back to oneself. Dementia. It's like he'd be the map. Navigation, X marks the spot, archaeology, ancient sea map, military planning, prehistory, explorer, lost city, pirate map, national parks, coordinates, treasure, trigonometry, and radar. What about the dementia? Nine of Pentacles. Denali National Park, the highest mountain peak in North America. Mountains is obstacles. An obstacle becoming single. Dementia. Thought I might have a deer on here. I don't. Nine of Pentacles. Tell me about the dementia. Patrick and Lindsay Clancy. And I choose you, the one I was dancing with in New York. Wow. Okay. Family tree, respect, and Egyptian Sphinx. Denali, Africa. Is this like a cuck thing? Okay, just keep going. Fraud. An intentional act of deception. An intentional act of deception, trickery, or lying used to gain an unfair or illegal advantage, tricking someone to take money, property, or legal rights. What is the fraud about? Where's this deck? is the fraud about? Wow, somebody's a traitor, the Judas tree. What is the fraud about? The landlord. According to medieval legend, after having betrayed Christ and overcome with regret, Judas Iscariot, hanged himself from a branch of a tree of this type. To call someone a Judas is to call them a traitor. But there is something more. A Judas also refers to someone who is so full of remorse after having committed a terrible act that they consider themselves beyond forgiveness, unable to even forgive themselves. Judas is often depicted in Christian art at the moment that he gives Jesus his fateful kiss, with a bag containing the notorious 30 pieces of silver in his hand, or hanging from his belt. Wow. The definition here is betrayal, false friends, dishonesty, subterfuge, friends with ulterior motives, falsehood, slander, negative people, envy, and enemies. Drawing the Judas tree card warns the seeker of a negative person or people who, due perhaps to jealousy or envy, are not doing right by them. It could be a colleague or a presumed friend who has betrayed them. She already got the betrayal from the first reading 3 years ago with the fox. Speaking ill of them behind their back, spreading false rumors. They should keep their guard up and try to recognize the false friends among the true ones. It is more important than ever to be very reserved concerning personal matters. If the question is about love, it is possible that someone is envious of the seeker's relationship and is attempting to come between them and their partner. Was she friends with this girl, this Rachel, the new wife, or did she have a friend that was betraying her? Or was the new wife, who was also in the medical industry, giving Patrick medical advice towards Lindsay, allegedly, the landlord? Alright, let's see what we get for a card. Tell me about the fraud. Strength. Oof. Hold on, because I think this one wanted to come out too. Three of Wands. So that would be two. I'm sorry, you guys. I think he played more of a part in this than what they have him down as. It's like he's telling her, I own you, I'm your landlord, I'm going to betray you, I'm going to drive you to think that you should harm yourself or harm our children. I'm waiting for you to do it. I think those voices was coming from him. That's what I think. I think a lot of the dysfunction was brought on by him. Um, Tell me about this. Tell me about the fraud. Homework. 11:55. Homework. Moon cycles, double, seeing double, a warped state, fraud, not seeing things clearly. That came out with the tongue. Tom, not Jerry. New mom, cutting that off, and then a leaf. Okay. Tell me about bay leaves. That's weird. So next is a quarrel. Tell me about the quarrel. Four, five. Tell me about the quarrel. Quarrel. Lindsay and Patrick Clancy. Tell me about the quarrel. Tell me about the quarrel. Personalization. I blame myself for things that are not my fault. I see myself as the center of the universe and take things personally. Understand that not everything is about you. Don't blame yourself for everything. I don't know. I'm getting more and more that if he didn't physically do it, he drove her to do it, or tricked her into doing it, or persuaded, manipulated. I don't know. Corpse. Crime scene, zombie, murder, natural causes, rotting tomb, coroner, skeleton, cremation, grave, Frankenstein, autopsy, burial, morgue, funeral home, wrongful death, mass grave. What's this about? Queen of Swords. Not talking to somebody, ignoring somebody. Tell me about the quarrel. Sorry, I'm not big on my truck thing. I forgot what that was. Justice. Marseille. And Ivy. Quarrel. About schooling, about French, about something not being fair, about not talking to somebody, about taking the kids somewhere possibly. And lastly, tell me about wispiness. Tell me about wispiness. Wispiness, thin, delicate, slight, or feathery. Like a small streak of smoke, fine hair, or faint clouds. It can also describe things that are vague, fleeting, or lacking substance. Wispiness. The rune Kenaz. Kenaz is the torch. Symbolizes the light of the torch. Impulse words: flame, controlled fire, light and darkness, illumination, impulse, will, passion, combustion, fever, ignition. Meaning of the card: willpower, passion, desire, love, creative, fire, and renewal. Tell me about wispiness. Queen of Wands. So we just had the Queen of Swords. Now we have the Queen of Wands. Fire, fire. Wispiness. To him, it's a match. Tell me about wispiness. Who are they speaking of? She's a fire sign. I don't know what the new wife is. Wispiness. Thick fur. $48. Thick fur, a prudent person. 48. Thick fur, investment. And 48, the state is investment. The action is investing. And the outcome, one of the few survivors. Alright, give me stickers for wispiness. Two more. One more. Okay. So I've got Mom Mode, another coffee, play button, wispiness. I may have to do another reading on this. What is this? A witch on a broom. Shades. Paint swatches. And now we have crystals in a bottle. All right, that's what I have. Thank you.